Good afternoon. My name is Rita KUSI, host of 30 Minutes with HR. If you are watching, you're watching us live on AAU TV. And can you believe it? It's episode number 8. I mean, time goes by so fast when you're having fun. Today, I have a special guest, and I would like to welcome her. Joining us for today's episode is Abena Antwi-Darkwa. All right, so I'm going to have Abena introduce herself, and then I'll let you in on the topic that we'll be discussing today.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Abena Darkoa Antwi-Darkwa. I'm the HR manager for Vokacom Limited. We are the implementers of the Ghana Post GPS for Ghana Post. And I'm very excited to be here because we are talking about money. So we are here to discuss the art of salary negotiation.
Exactly.
Yes.
The art of salary negotiations for employees. This episode is especially for the employees. And then next week we'll come back with one just for the employers. Exactly. All right. So now we're talking money, right? And everyone loves money, right? Because you need it to survive, first of all. So now, can you share an experience with us when you actually had to go to your supervisor to request a salary increase? And how did you feel when you did that?
My most memorable salary negotiation story was when I went to my supervisor and I said, initially I was very nervous. I was tense. I didn't want to seem ungrateful, but I felt I had put in the work, I had put in the hours, I deserved a raise. So I went up to my supervisor and I said, I want a raise. And the question was, why? That's where the problem was.
Good question.
The problem was I could only remember my most recent projects that I'd worked on. But I had failed to document the various accomplishments that I had achieved throughout the year. The problem there was I could only defend, or I could only provide solid reasons for the things I could remember.
Wow.
So my most memorable thing there was I had to make sure I document my accomplishments, because in the day-to-day hustle and bustle of work, people don't really keep track of what they do, the extra mile that they go to for the company or for the department or units in which they find themselves in. So for me, that was that was it. I got the raise, but it was not the raise I wanted because I couldn't make a stronger case.
Exactly. And I'm sure if you were able to make a stronger case, you most likely would have probably received the raise that you felt you deserved.
Definitely.
Interesting.
I know.
Well, I like the fact that you actually admit and that you learned from your mistake. Like you know where you went wrong when you went to ask for your salary.
Exactly.
Yeah? So I think for me, I was working when I started my career in HR, I was an assistant. Yeah, and so the director of human resources had stepped down, and the position had become available. You know, and I said, you know what, I'm already doing this anyway. I just don't have the title. You know, so I went and in my case, I mean, I did go and I went and I expressed it verbally. And then the then CEO actually asked that I submit a document. So then, of course, you go back and then you start typing everything out, trying to plead your case. You know, and yeah, thankfully I got the promotion. I'm sure it probably wasn't the raise I requested, but I definitely did get the promotion. So it's really, really important that you do document. When it comes time.
Very important.
Okay, nice. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in. If you're watching, again, you're watching live on AAU TV. You're watching on Facebook. I'm sure we're also streaming from YouTube. Let us know where you're watching from so that we can show you a little love. And if you have any questions regarding asking for salary, please leave your questions in the comment section for us. All right, so as an employee, we've already mentioned making sure that you have your facts together, right, to plead your case. As an employee, when should employees actually request for a raise, and from whom?
From whom, the best person is actually your line manager, because that's the person who has the first overview of your work. direct contact with that's the person you report directly to. So that's the person who has a full understanding of the value that you continue to bring to the company. Okay. So if anyone is going to appreciate that more, that is your line manager.
Exactly.
So that's who you should go to first of all when you start talking about the salary raise.
And they'll support you too when you go to
because they can understand where you are coming from.
Exactly. Because
they work with you on a daily basis.
Okay.
When you say there are a couple of scenarios. If, for instance, someone stepped down, like you said, and you are taking on how to staff tasks, you know, you've been given more responsibilities that you have to take on in addition to what you're already doing.
Okay.
That's a good time to ask for a salary raise. If you have been you have done some kind of large successful project where you've accomplished it very well and gone above and beyond what you're supposed to do, that's another good time to ask for salary raises. It's very important to add that your salary is for what you do.
Okay.
So if you want a raise in itself is doing something extra. So you cannot ask for a salary raise for doing just what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
A raise is supposed to be for doing more than you are expected to do. So if you look on your job description and you are doing just what you
has changed.
Exactly, you are doing just what is expected of you. That is exactly what your salary is for. And then finally, most people have performance reviews where they do mid-year to check where everyone is on their targets, and then they have the annual end-of-year review.
Exactly.
What I'd recommend there is, during the mid-year review, start having that conversation about the salary increase with your line manager. Because what happens is, even though we have the annual review at the end of the year, most companies start creating their budgets way before the year ends. So by the time you actually do make a request for that raise, the budget has already been drawn.
Okay.
So start having that conversation with your line manager. It doesn't have to be a one-time conversation that you have and that's the end of it. You know, give people time to think about it, reflect on it, and even as time goes on, you can keep accomplishing more, which builds on your case.
Exactly.
So start having that conversation early. Don't wait till the final moment or the final hour.
So you have to have a plan instead of just going abruptly to your line manager?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly what you're supposed to do.
All right, so I'm going to take a step back.
Okay.
So when we talk about salaries, I'm sure everyone watching knows what we mean by salary, right? So wages, compensation, obviously is something, it's an exchange for your services, right? And it's money. It's a monetary exchange of services that you provide to an employer. Okay, so now the advice that you just gave is for someone who is actively working within an organization. Let's take a step back.
Okay.
If I am an employee, or if I'm a job seeker and I'm looking for a job, and I apply for a job with AAU, and I'm given a specific salary, how do I negotiate that? What if I feel, okay, maybe this salary is maybe too low? How exactly do you go about negotiating that, even before you get started on the job?
With that, you have negotiating itself is an art. It's very it's like a dance.
Yes.
You have to it's not straightforward.
Exactly.
So first of all, you have to do your research. You don't enter an industry, you don't enter a job place without doing your homework. Find out how well the company is doing, how they are paying their people. Are they doing layoffs? Are they expanding? What are their largest what are some of their most recent achievements? Are they in the papers? Are they recruiting worldwide? It sort of gives you an idea of their budget. Okay. Then you also look at yourself, what you are bringing to the table, the years of experience, your qualifications, what you can bring to the table. Okay. Okay, so you are able to find that fine balance between what you have to offer and what the company too has to offer. Because you also don't want a situation where you ask for a high salary, they give it to you.
It's such a turn off.
Exactly. And you just walk in and everybody doesn't like you.
Because
you are the most expensive person here. And we are yet to
how
even see
did you get your job?
Exactly. And we don't even know what you are bringing to the table yet. Okay, so you have to also be fair to yourself. Give yourself a little room to prove yourself. So it's something you have to work on, and it's negotiating. in all negotiations, you never take the first offer on the table.
Okay.
It's something that it's just, it tells how well you know yourself,
exactly.
or how much you are worth. Okay. But at the same time, you have to find that balance, and you have to keep your emotions in check, because negotiating can get frustrating, it can get annoying, it can get stressful, but you have to be able to keep your emotions in check, because it only speaks, it helps to lets the people understand that, one, you are very professional,
exactly.
and you know how to take things the professional route without getting too personal. Exactly. In there. And then it also gives you that composure, so they understand that if in terms of working under pressure, you've just exhibited that in the negotiation right there.
Okay, so interesting.
Yeah.
There's definitely an art to it.
Yeah.
You know, I like that you mentioned knowing your worth. You know,
Yeah.
in our part of the world, because of the high unemployment rate, and also because a lot of people believe there are no jobs, when someone gets offered a job, they're just so happy to be working. True. That they just take whatever is offered. True. And in a lot of cases, it's a lot of people selling themselves short. True. You know, and I do have this belief in all my years working in HR that if an employer wants to hire you, if they really want you, if they feel you're a valuable asset, they will meet your salary demands. Yeah. You know, so I like that you mentioned knowing your worth. I think knowing your worth is definitely key. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else that you should consider, like when you're going for a job?
Oh, like a salary negotiation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I cannot stress this enough. Document. Always have your facts. Exactly. Make it about yourself. There are lots of mistakes that lots of people make. For instance, they walk in and say, I heard Rita is on this salary, so I want this salary.
So I want the same salary. Really?
Yes, there are unique cases where, true, you might be unfairly paid. But you want to make it about yourself, about the time on the job, about how well you are helping the company, how you are developing, what your potential is for the company. If you go in comparing yourself to the other person, you may not necessarily have the full scope of why that person is being compensated in that way. Exactly. For all you know, the person is being compensated and being managed out of the company, and you do not want to align yourself with that type of employee. So it's something that is a mistake most people make by comparing themselves to others. It's very off-putting sometimes for the employer to hear someone compare themselves to the other, because it's more of a one-on-one about what, yes, they have their large salary bands that they put all employees on, but it's more of the performance of the employee, and then what the employee can add, the value that the employee can add to. Exactly. Exactly. So it's a thing that most people make a mistake. And it makes
you seem kind of ungrateful too, you know. Hey, I want a salary because I heard, you know, Abena is making this salary. Come on, how childish is that? I wouldn't want to employ anyone that.
Yes. And another thing is, most people don't. Timing is very important when you are asking for your salary review or salary increment. Feel the room. Figure out what is happening in the company. Are there layoffs? If there are layoffs, that is not the time to ask for salary. Exactly. If they are expanding, so everybody is on a thin budget so that the company can expand and then make money in the next few years, that's not the time to ask for a salary increment. If it's a time where everybody's revenue is through the roof, profit margins are high, you know, the company is booming.
Yeah, but how do you find out? How do you even get access to that information?
Well, it's all about the people you work with within the organization. Even if you take where you work, for example, you have an idea of what your unit targets are, what's supposed to achieve. Okay, so because everybody's targets are aligned to what the company is going to achieve in the future. So it's also depends on how you interact with the other units, and then talk to finance. You know, how's the company doing? Where are we going now? Are we meeting our targets? So it's because you don't want a situation where you feel you deserve a raise and the company is literally struggling, and you are just there asking for the raise. You do not want to be that person that doesn't seem to understand the struggle that the company is going through at that point in time.
I really, really like those tips, you know, because, and you're absolutely right. I think you have to really know the organization, and you need to know how you are progressing. You know, that's actually a very, very, very good and a very important point that you just brought up. You also mentioned performance evaluations. You know, a lot of employers actually do offer raises after performance evaluation. I think most employers actually give raises maybe once a year. They're annual raises, right? But it has to be based on something. So obviously, if you're not getting a performance review, it's okay to request for one. Now, in doing the performance reviews, not all companies, for instance, the companies, some organizations actually, especially in the public sector, they have standardized salaries. So you have to know the organization that you work with. Sometimes there's a cap. You may not even be able to get an increase, whether or not you deserve it, because everyone, for instance, in the US, if you're a social worker, there are grade levels to you getting a salary. So you can't just go and plead your case and say, hey, I think I deserve a salary. So it's really, really important that you get to know the organization that you're working with. All right, so now, what should you consider before you approach your supervisor to negotiate or ask for a salary? What are some of the things that you, the individual, should consider?
You have to consider what...
I know we spoke about the organization.
What the organization is going through, one. What your performance within the company is, and whether you are taking on new roles. Because you can take on new roles and be very bad at it. So you have to be able to assess. You have to be able to assess yourself. You have to focus on yourself. When you are negotiating your salary, focus on yourself. Do not make it personal. Don't come and tell me that I have personal problems, so I need to get a salary review. Yes, most line managers are very sympathetic, and then they would help you with that. But you don't want to be given an increment based on your personal problems. Like, what
if my lifestyle has changed, though? I mean, what if I just had like triplets, and all of a sudden, you know, I need to be able to take care of the family?
True. Those are very valid points. But you do not want to make the entire negotiation about that, because at the end of the day, they recruited you to come and work for them based on your skill set, which you are good at. That is the whole point. That is why you need more money, because you are very good at your job. Unfortunately, yes, you may have some personal problems, but you are good at your job.
So you have to
exactly. So you have to focus on the fact that it is the job that is at hand, and you are good at it, and you intend to be good at it.
Exactly.
And do not make ultimatums. A lot of people do not like to be threatened. So it's very interesting to watch.
People don't play with their money.
Exactly. So in the same way you would never want to work where you would feel threatened, why would you think it would rather be advisable to rather have that ultimatum and say, if you don't give me the money, I'm out, or if you don't? Because in the events that the company does buckle down and give you the money, you will now be tagged as that person who is there for the money. And most companies want loyalty. They want people who will work for them for a long time. So you do not want to be seen as the one that would leave if there was a raise elsewhere.
Threaten.
So you don't want to be that person.
So now, my last question. So what if I know I deserve a raise? I've gone above and beyond pleading my case. I've documented everything. But every time I go, I mean, I'm shot down. I'm told no, that I cannot get this raise. What advice would you give to an employee that's dealing with something like that?
In the event that something doesn't work, there's always another way to go about it. So, first of all, like I said, in the beginning, your line manager is the first person to speak to. Your next course of action will be determined by what response you are given. It's different if it says there's no money in the system, or I don't think I can make a case for you in front of your directors. I don't think as an employee you should fear going the next step above your line manager or to HR. Because once you go about it in a professional way, yes, we are humans and people sometimes take things personal. You should not be afraid to go beyond your line manager to his line manager if you have to. because at the end of the day, it is what you are bringing to the table. So once it is clear, and I say well documented, and you're able to prove your case, it should not just stay with your line manager. Then you can go forward to HR, because HR should have a record of what you are also doing. In terms of your performance reviews, there's also documenting what you've been doing from the beginning of the year.
Exactly.
So it's easier if your line manager does not have enough say or does not feel confident to be able to make a case for you for one reason or the other. It's not a problem. You should be able to go beyond your line manager and then make a case above that.
And then, of course, I mean, as employees, like, we all know that if, for instance, you feel you deserve a certain salary but it's not being met, then you give yourself a specific timeline, all right? Maybe for the next 6 months I can be here, and then just give yourself some time to maybe start looking for a different employment, right? A place where you would probably feel more valued and receive the compensation that you deserve. And when we talk about, you know, salaries, I think people should also remember that there are also other benefits that they may also be able to negotiate for, you know? All right, so I mean, I listed, and I want you to let me know if you think I'm correct in saying this. So things to consider when asking for a raise. Obviously, we mentioned the organization, right? The level of education, right? Level of education, also level of experience. You know, obviously, if you have a master's and you also coupled with experience, then you would probably get the salary that you're demanding.
Yes. In Ghana, it's a bit tricky, because as as we develop as a country, education is becoming easier to access. So initially it was a big deal to have a first degree. Then it gets to the point where now everybody's going to do their master's, or everybody's going to do an EMB, or some postgraduate diploma. It becomes very easy to attain. But one thing no one can ever take is your experience. Your experience. You cannot second guess experience. It's years. You know, you put in the work. It's very obvious. So yes, it is good to have your qualifications, but your experience is very important.
Interesting. So you're saying experience will probably
because there are a lot of companies that have a lot of qualified people, but the question is, do you need that qualification to do the job? If you don't have, if the job requires a first degree and you have a master's degree, you are overqualified for that position. And they
will tell you too.
Exactly.
I've heard that before. Have you heard that before?
Yes, I have.
Qualified.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have heard that before.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a reason why entry levels make a certain amount of money. There's a reason why mid-level executives, everyone makes a certain amount of money, right? Depending on the level of your level of experience. And obviously company culture. I think we mentioned it. Do you work within an organization where, you know, it's comfortable, or it's expected for you to go? Some employers actually have respect for employees who actually do come up and ask for a raise, if I'm correct. Right? So you have to do it. I mean, if you feel, I mean, what are you going to do? Just sit there until someone taps you on your shoulder? That doesn't actually speak well about you yourself as an employee, if you're sitting there just not doing anything when you know you could do something. Yeah, being underpaid, exactly. It's interesting. And then obviously we mentioned promotions. And then change in job description. If you realize that there's some subtle changes and you're doing more than you were hired to do, then obviously you need to list what those new responsibilities are, right? And then go and plead your case. All right. Now, I also listed 6 steps on how to request a salary increase. So obviously you want to ask yourself, you the individual, like, do I deserve it? You know, or do you just get up and You have to ask yourself those vital questions. Have I done enough? Have I contributed enough to the company that I'm working with? Have I made that much of a difference in my department? Some people think it's very difficult to do that, but it can be something so small, but adds a lot to the company, and it has to be something beyond what you are expected to do. That is the whole point. Look at your company values. What does the company value? Is it innovation that your company values? If it's innovation, what innovative thing are you doing? Have you done? Exactly. That merits that type of rate. So look at what your company values. Read the room. Figure out what your company
requires of you, or what your company admires in its employees, and then work on that in getting your salary raise.
Very good points. Very good points. So obviously you ask yourself whether or not you deserve a raise, why you deserve a raise.
Exactly.
Where are you in the organization? You know, are you entry level? Are you mid-level? Are you senior? Do you have a good track record? Do you have a good track record?
Very, very important, because companies document everything that employees go through.
Most companies,
Most
I
companies.
hope. Yeah.
Document what employees go through. So if there have been some disciplinary actions that have been taken against you, or you have done something which was not in line with the company mission or vision, or what the company was expecting of you, those are all things you have to take into consideration, because you don't want to be coming off some kind of suspension and come in and say you want a raise.
Exactly.
You don't want to be that.
Can you imagine?
You would just not look serious to the employer. Sorry, if you come off like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
so
true. And then obviously you want to state your case.
Yeah.
You know, in an email, but I think preferably in person.
In person
will probably be better.
Yeah,
you know, we're like digital era, so somebody might even WhatsApp.
That would be a very interesting one. I would like to see
somebody will definitely text
someone
asking for a raise.
Tried. I would like
of course.
Someone should drop a message and let me know how that went. I would like to know how that went.
I would love to know how that went too. Yeah. And then the last is just sit back and relax, because obviously if you deserve a raise, then it's going to happen. You know, employers, when they have good employees, they don't want to lose them.
At all.
And they will meet your salary demands at some point.
Exactly.
You know, even if it's not immediately, they'll let you know at some point, hey, just be patient with us, and then we'll sort it out. Exactly. All right, so now we have come to the end. Do you have any tips or anything that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Don't be nervous when you're asking for a salary review or you're negotiating your salary. Relax. Have your facts together. Keep your emotions in check. And find a balance. Do not be that employee that goes to ask for a high raise and then we can't pay you in a year. You don't want to be that employee. Just relax. Make sure you have your facts and focus on you. Don't focus on any other employee.
Exactly.
Don't focus on anything else. Focus on you, your performance, your qualifications, and what you can bring to the table.
Excellent. Is there anything you would like to share with the viewers in terms of what Vokacom is up to?
Well, Vokacom is doing big things.
I see.
You'll be hearing about us very soon.
Good.
We've started doing a lot of things in the papers,
awesome.
And we are working on some promos with Daily Graphic. You know, we're doing big things, so just watch out for us.
Good. I'm excited. I'm excited. Keep doing great things.
Yeah.
Now, thank you all so much for tuning in. This is episode 8. Can you believe it? So next week is episode 9, and next week's episode is actually a special one for employers. How do you implement effective pay grade and also salary structures within your organization so that your employees are happy and they don't feel they have to come for a raise, but they know when to expect a raise if they deserve one? So tune in next week. And again, thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Abena, for coming on today's show.
Thank you for having me. Okay.